Have you ever looked at an old, gnarled tree and wondered what stories it could tell if it could only speak? What seasons has it seen? What changes has it witnessed in the world around it? The story of America is a lot like that. It's not just a collection of dates and names you find in a dusty book. It's a living, breathing story written on the land itself, in the rivers that flow, and in the hearts of the people who have called this place home. It's a tale filled with grand adventures, difficult lessons, and the enduring hope of building something better, something new. Long before any ships crossed the great ocean, this land was not empty. It was filled with people. We call them Native Americans, or the First Peoples. They were hundreds of different nations, each with its own language, its own beliefs, and its own special way of life. Imagine a giant quilt, each patch a different color and pattern. That is what the continent looked like. They were expert scientists, artists, and storytellers. They learned the secrets of the land because their lives depended on it. They grew corn, beans, and squash, the three sisters, in careful partnership with nature. Stories were the people's libraries. Then one day, something new appeared on the edge of the world. Strange-looking ships with giant white sails arrived on the shores, small boats rowing toward shore. Native people watched from the tree line. These ships carried people from a place called Europe. They saw the land not as a relative to be respected, but as a resource to be used. They brought new tools, horses, cows, and also things they did not know they were carrying. Invisible dangers called diseases, like smallpox and measles, swept through communities. Entire villages were weakened and sometimes wiped out, and the balance of life changed. Europeans drew lines on maps and began to claim land as property, an idea foreign to many native nations. Narrator. As more Europeans came over, they began building little towns and then bigger cities. Narrator. They were creating colonies, distant neighborhoods ruled by a king across the ocean. Narrator. For a long time, the people living in these 13 colonies thought of themselves as British. Narrator. But they paid taxes to a government that was far away and had no voice in it. Narrator. The British kept adding more heat with new taxes and rules. Narrator. Colonists began to feel, hey, I'm old enough to make some of my own decisions. Narrator. What if the power of government came from the people it governed, not a distant king? Narrator. Leaders like Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin began to talk and write about liberty and freedom. Narrator. This was the seed of democracy, the idea that government gets its power from the people. Narrator. No taxation without representation became their rallying cry. The boiling point was finally reached. In 1776, they declared to the world they were no longer part of Great Britain. A long and difficult war followed. The American Revolution. The American Army, led by George Washington, was a small, scrappy group fighting for their freedom on their own land. Against the odds, with help from allies like France, they won. Now came the hard part, building the house. Leaders came together to write rules for a new government. They wrote the Constitution, a rule book for how the new country would work. It created a president, a Congress, and a Supreme Court, a system to balance power. They promised life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But those words did not yet apply to everyone, a painful truth we must remember. Still, they planted seeds of self-government, hoping future generations would tend them. From the very beginning, there was a deep and terrible crack in the foundation of this new House of Liberty. The beautiful words, "all men are created equal," did not include everyone. Hundreds of thousands were held in slavery, men, women, and children treated as property. The nation grew, expanding westward, becoming more prosperous. But for many, that prosperity came at a terrible cost. The South's economy relied on slave labor for cotton and tobacco, while the North industrialized. Brave men and women, black and white, spoke out against slavery. People like Harriet Tubman helped enslaved people escape through the Underground Railroad. Tensions rose until the nation was stretched to its breaking point. As Abraham Lincoln warned, a house divided could not stand. This led to the Civil War, brother against brother, to decide the nation's future. The Union won, and slavery was abolished. A legal end, but not an instant cure. The Civil War was a terrible storm that raged for 4 long years and cost more lives than any other American war. Newly freed African Americans were promised citizenship and rights, but the fight for true freedom had only begun. Laws changed, but prejudice and new barriers, like segregation, kept many from full equality. Over generations, people organized again. The civil rights movement rose up. Leaders like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. led peaceful protests, marches, and boycotts. They met hatred with courage and changed hearts and laws. New laws like the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act helped open doors. Progress followed, but the work to make equality real continued. Courageous, ordinary people and leaders kept bending the arc toward justice. So, where is America today? After chapters of triumph and turmoil, the story keeps unfolding. The country became a world leader in science and technology. We put a person on the moon. We invented the internet, connecting the whole planet. People from every corner of the globe kept coming to America seeking opportunity. Each group adds its own patch to the nation's quilt. The country became a vibrant, messy, beautiful mix of cultures, languages, and traditions. But old challenges remain. Conversations about fairness and equality continue today. We still argue about what it means to be an American. How do we make the promise of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness real for everyone? The American experiment is an ongoing conversation, a constant effort to live up to our ideals. Ordinary people can do extraordinary things fighting for what's right. Progress is not a straight line. It's a winding path with setbacks and small victories. The story is a lesson in hope. A nation can struggle toward its ideals despite contradictions. We have walked through the long hallways of American history. We have seen the beauty of the land before the ships arrived. We have watched a new nation being born from a powerful idea of freedom. We have witnessed the terrible pain of a house divided by slavery and the courageous struggle to heal that division and expand liberty to all. The story is now in our hands. We are the builders now. We decide what this house will look like in the future. The ink is still wet on the page. What will your sentence say? What kind of ancestor will you be for those who read this story 100 years from now? What story will you choose to write?